Good evening. The time is now 6:32 p.m. and I'd like to call the regular Cultural Heritage Commission meeting of November 17th, 2022 to order. Before I proceed, I want to take a moment to go over our meeting protocols for today. The South Pasadena Cultural Heritage Commission meeting for November 17th, 2022 will be conducted both in person and virtually via Zoom to maximize public safety while still maintaining transparency and public access. Members of the public can observe the meeting via Zoom. At this time, I'd like to ask that we call the roll.
Commissioner Cross, Commissioner Morris, Vice Chair Lopez,
Here.
Chair Gallatin.
Here,
You have quorum.
thank you. Next, we move on to approval of the agenda. Commissioners and staff, do you have any requests or additions and revisions to the agenda? If so, please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, I would like a vote of the commission to proceed with approval of the agenda as submitted. We have a motion from Commissioner Morris,
I second.
seconded by Vice Chair Lopez. And we can just do a voice vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. All right, so the agenda is approved as submitted. Next is disclosure of site visits and ex parte contacts. And I'll start to my far left here with Commissioner Cross.
I was by the site, took some photographs if anybody needs to see them.
That's the 618 Magnolia
Yes,
site.
Magnolia.
Thank you. Commissioner Morris? Okay. All right. Vice Chair Lopez.
Only site visit.
Okay. And I also visited the site at 618 Magnolia. Now we come to the point in our agenda for public comment. This is public comment for general items not listed on tonight's agenda. Has staff received any public comments via Zoom or in person?
Yes, we have received one in chambers.
Mhm.
The person's name is Solana Cordon.
All right. Ms.
When you
Cordon,
come up
please
to, I'm sorry.
come up to the podium. Either one, yeah.
And you have 3 minutes to start, okay?
Hello, good evening. My name is Solana Cordon, and I am a senior at South Pasadena High School and an ambassador Girl Scout for South Pasadena's Girl Scout Troop 04661. Currently, I'm completing my Girl Scout Gold Award project, which has been guided by my passion and wanting to celebrate the underrepresented Latinx community and the voices within that community. Through conversations with like-minded individuals and organizations, I've been working to provide a representation and spread cultural awareness of powerful Latina voices within our city through oral history interviews and photographs, and plan to share these amazing contributions through my project, Gracias a la Vida, Latina Voices of South Pasadena. I'm working to showcase these oral histories in a biographical photo gallery reception, as well as an educational book component for children to be donated to the community. I believe we can make the most impact for our community for future generations through highlighting the voices of our own heritage in a celebratory light. Today, I'm asking if the South Pasadena Cultural Commission can support this project through providing a space to exhibit these wonderful stories in South Pasadena. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
And for any guest on Zoom, please raise your hand if you would like to provide public comment. We do not have any on Zoom.
Very good, thank you. Next is our consent calendar items, which tonight consist of minutes from 2 of our regular meetings, the meetings of October 15th, 2020 and November 19th, 2020. I'll ask if any of my fellow commissioners have any corrections that they wish to make to either set of minutes.
I recall, I can't find it this moment, but I recall that it referred to green and green and missing the E's on each green.
Yes, you caught that as well as I did, Commissioner Cross. That's on page 6 of the minutes of October 15th, 2020. Green and green was misspelled, missing the E. And then also on that same, in that same paragraph, it refers to Mr. and Mrs. David Denny. That should be Davis Denny with an S. Other than that, I had no other corrections. So hearing no other corrections, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of October 15th as amended and November the 19th, sorry.
I make a motion for approval.
We have a second?
Second,
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, the minutes are approved. And now we can move on to tonight's public hearing. We have a project at 618 Magnolia Street. It's a certificate of appropriateness to demolish 520 square feet of the side and rear of an existing single-family residence to add 1,270 square feet to the first floor, add 1,286 square feet to the second floor, and demolish an existing 216 square foot shed for the property located at 618 Magnolia Street. Staff's recommendation is to approve certificate of appropriateness, subject to conditions of approval. And we have our associate planner, Susana Martinez, who is going to be presenting the staff report. Susana?
Hi, thank you, Chair. And good evening, members of the Cultural Heritage Commission and council members and IMER. The first project on our agenda is project number 2515, Certificate of Appropriateness for the property located at 618 Magnolia Street. So the subject site is a rectangular lot located on the northerly side of Magnolia Street between Grand Avenue and Orange Grove Street. The lot measures approximately 11,400 square feet and is bounded by residential to the north, south, east, and west. The site is currently developed with a single-family dwelling and a detached garage with an ADU attached towards it. The slide before you identifies a street view of the residence, which was built in 1937. The property is a contributor to the potential Magnolia and Adeline district, which includes modestly sized period revival residences with a high degree of integrity. The residence is built in the craftsman style, which is identified by the low-pitched gabled roof, the exposed rafters, wood siding, and the wide overhang eaves. So the applicant is requesting a certificate of appropriateness to demolish 520 square feet of the side and rear of the existing single-family residence in order to rebuild that area and add 1,270 square feet to the first floor and 1,286 square feet to the second floor. The property is located within the residential single-family zone and is developed with a 1,482 square foot single-family dwelling, a 710 square foot 3-car garage with attached ADU, and a 224 square foot shed. The property has undergone some modifications throughout, including a permit to enclose the front porch in 1945, the construction of a 5-car garage in 1986, and most recently, the conversion of a portion of that garage into an accessory dwelling unit, and that permit has been finalized. Other permit history for the site was minor and is listed on sheet 2 of your staff report. So the first floor addition is to rebuild along the northern and easterly side of the existing residence. The first floor addition will have a sensory gym training area, a great room area, a relocation of the kitchen, and a dining room. In addition, the first floor will undergo some interior remodeling to add additional bathrooms, an office area, some remodeling to a bedroom, and add access stairs to the second story. For the second floor, they are proposing to have a primary bedroom with a primary closet and bathroom, 2 additional bedrooms, a laundry room, and a family loft. Overall, the project is in conformance with applicable development standards for the RS zone and can be found on your staff report as well. So staff would just like to note very quickly that the applicant will be presenting their own presentation, and they will be touching more on the design elements. But as of right now, the project proposes an addition that will modify the existing residence from a 1-story to a 2-story structure And the second-story addition is proposed above the proposed rebuilt area and new addition to the rear. The proposed addition will incorporate new wood siding that is wider to differentiate from the existing siding, but is compatible with the historic resource. And additional materials include rock veneer and wood or aluminum clad windows. The slide before you identifies the existing plot plan, where the area highlighted in blue identifies the existing area to be demolished. And then in this site plan, it is the proposed plot plan where it does identify that blue area that will be rebuilt, as well as the additional addition to the first floor. This slide identifies the first floor plan, both existing and proposed. And then this slide identifies the second floor plan where you can identify that the second floor will be set back from the front wall plane on the first floor. This elevation is on the south side, which is the front facade. On the left is existing, where you can identify the existing trellis that will be removed. And then on the right, it is the proposed, where you can identify the addition towards the rear and that second-story addition. This elevation identifies the rear. Existing is to the left and proposed is to the right. This is the west elevation. And lastly, we have the east elevation, which is another side. Overall, the recommendation this evening is that the Cultural Heritage Commission approve the project subject to the conditions of approval. And this concludes staff's presentation. As mentioned, the applicant will have their own presentation as well, and staff is happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Susanna. My fellow commissioners, does anyone have questions for staff? Commissioner Cross?
Yes, I just have one question regarding the conditions of approval. I see on the first plan where they show the existing conditions and the proposed conditions for a plan view, it's eliminating the eastern driveway. This property is currently improved with 2 and 1's going away, and I didn't see that in a condition of approval, that they repair the curb cut and driveway entrance. It shows it removed in the plan, but I didn't see it as a condition of approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross. I believe Public Works added that condition of approval, but let me just see where that is located
good.
at. I believe it's a PW 14. That the applicant shall replace all broken, damaged, or out-of-grade curb and gutter, sidewalk, and driveways, and repaint all curb markings fronting the property on Magnolia to the satisfaction of the city engineer. And it continues on. And that is located on page 3 of the conditions of approval, P14, PW 14.
I'll accept that. I'd like to see it specifically called out to remove and repair the curb.
Commissioner Cross, the site plan shows the driveway in the same place existing and proposed. You're saying that is not correct?
Well, no, it is
There are
correct.
2 driveways.
Oh, there's 2
Yeah, but
driveways.
there's 2
Gotcha.
driveways
And they're
now.
gonna
and,
abandon the easterly one.
I've just seen, not so much in South Pasadena, but other jurisdictions where curb cuts don't get removed when a driveway gets removed. And I just want to be sure that we get that restored to a regular parkway. This is this is rather general. I'd like to see it get specific on at least that curb cut.
Thank you, Commissioner Cost. And we can ask Public Works to modify the condition of approval to specify that information.
Right, Commissioner Morris?
While we're on the conditions of approval, I talked about this with staff earlier, but there are quite a few. Public Works showed up this time and listed quite a few. You've gone over these with the applicant because they're lengthy. Yes?
Yes, correct.
The condition number 18, which says the applicant shall bring the existing parkway on Magnolia up to current standards. If we're gonna bother with correcting it, then we should probably limit that to the in front of this particular property instead of up and down the whole street.
Right.
And I think I had another one.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that was it. But anyway, it feels like we could limit that so he doesn't feel compelled to do the whole block.
Thank you, Commissioner Morris. We'll make sure to note that as well.
Any other questions for staff? Commissioner Morris, okay. Vice Chair Lopez? Thank you. Okay, Susanna, please bear with me. I'm gonna have a number of questions. Since we started off with the topic of conditions of approval, there is a mention on page 7 of our staff report that the applicant was proposing aluminum clad windows and staff was going to condition the project to make those wood windows, but I didn't see that included in the conditions of approval. So can we please get that in there?
Yes, definitely. Thank you. And that was more of a recommendation to the commission.
Mm.
If they felt they agreed with staff, then we could add it.
I see.
during-
Okay. Next, this would be on page 6 under City of South Pasadena Design Guidelines for Historic Preservation. I think at this point, and of course, we haven't heard the applicant's presentation yet, and some of these questions I'm directing to you, the applicant certainly, and when it's his turn, can help address. I think at this point in time, I'm gonna need a little bit more convincing as to why you feel that the proposed addition is, quote, limited in size and scale in relation to the existing structure as the design guidelines call for. Can you elaborate on that at all?
Yes, thank you, Chair Gallatin. So when staff reviewed the project against the design guidelines, we understood that it is usually discouraged to do a second story addition on an existing single story structure. However, the design guidelines understand that sometimes you're not allowed to have additional FAR without removing certain architectural elements in order to add those, do an addition. So because the second story addition is fairly pushed back, if I remember correctly, it's maybe about a little over more than 20 feet from the front facade. It's above the rebuilt area to enforce that area for the second story. We felt that it would meet the design guidelines. Of course, that's staff's recommendation and review of it. In addition, this is a new homeowner that just recently came into the city of South Pasadena. So based on the project narrative, they did describe how small the existing house is and how they need additional square footage for their family. So after reviewing those things, that's what we had considered it would comply.
Okay, my next couple of questions refer to pages 8 and 9 of the staff report, the consistency with the Secretary of Interior standards. One of the standards, standard 4, refers to changes to a property that acquired historic significance and will be retained and preserved. At least that's the recommendation in the standard. And I was curious about the 1946 porch enclosure. Did staff do further research to determine if that had acquired any historic significance in its own right?
Staff did not do any additional research at the time. We did identify that it had already been modified to the existing facade. I think the only thing that staff did consider was the possibility of restoring it, because that is one of the design guideline recommendations as well. But, you know, based on what they wanted to do, and not really do any modifications to the front of the home and just build towards the rear, staff left as is.
And then standard number 6 talks about deteriorated historic features will be repaired rather than replaced. And the existing home has sort of a hodgepodge of window types and materials. Some of them are vinyl, which of course we discourage in the standards. Some of them don't even have sashes. A couple of them, I think, have cabinet doors for sashes. So definitely understand why those would want to be replaced. The balance of them, though, are described as being in poor condition. What evidence, if any, has the applicant provided to document that they are in poor condition and beyond repair?
Thank you, Chair Gallatin. So I would have the architect elaborate a little bit more on that, but just from staff's, you know, working with the applicant, they did identify those vinyl windows were installed without permits. So they're trying to restore or trying to replace them with something that's more historically, architecturally compatible with the existing front portion of the home. And what the applicant also did was differentiate those windows from the ones from the addition. So they're not all matching. They're still two different types of styles.
Right, I appreciate that. I was more concerned about the statement that they were in poor condition because, again, the standards recommend that you try to repair before replacement. And, you know, poor conditions could encompass a lot of things. And I just couldn't tell from the information in our packet whether, you know, these are termite ridden or dry rot or what the situation is that makes them in poor condition. My next question has to do with the site plan. There is a existing shed shown that says slated for demolition. And that shed elsewhere in the packet says that that's the original garage for the house. And obviously it's over 45 years of age. So my question is, has a historic resource evaluation, an HRE report been prepared for that demolition request? And if it has, how come that's not in this packet?
Thank you, Chair Gallatin. So from staff's understanding of the historic ordinance,
Mhm.
the HRE is only required for those structures or those properties that haven't been identified as historic resources to determine to demolish. Of course, if I would invite my planning manager if he has a different response towards that, but that's staff's understanding. So that's why HRE was not required.
Yeah. I would urge you, I would urge staff to double check that because my memory is telling me that the language in the code says any structure 45 years or older, whether it's listed on the inventory or not, requires an HRE.
Staff can double check, but from what I remember the last time, it says a non-contributor.
Okay.
Does that mean that the house is not listed on the registry?
Thank you, Vice Chair Lopez. So what the historic ordinance mentions is that for any structure that's not listed on as a historic resource, but is older than 45 years old, prior to demolition, requires an intensive level HRE to be prepared to determine if it could possibly be placed on any local, state, or national register list. We've brought similar projects in the past due to that reason before we take it to another commission.
So the question is, the house itself is listed on the registry.
Correct, yes.
So by definition, doesn't the garage is also listed on the registry?
That would be staff's understanding that the entire property
Right.
is
So-
included.
So if they're listed on the registry, then don't you need an HRE? Or is I'm not following, I'm sorry.
I could pull up the specific code section if you like, and I can read it out loud.
So
That'd be great.
if it's not listed, you require an HRE, but if it is listed, you don't require an HRE?
Correct.
Okay.
Oh.
It seems backwards to me, but
Yes.
that's okay. Okay.
Staff, okay.
Gotcha.
Okay, we're almost at the end here, Susanna. Just a note, curiosity, in looking back through the permit history, there were plumbing and electrical permits for a compressed natural gas system. And I read in the staff report that this property was, it got a conditional use permit in the late sixties to operate a business there. Is that infrastructure still in place? Do you know? I'm just concerned about things like underground tanks and things like that.
So when staff did a research into the property, they did find that file, but there was a letter in there specifying that they obtained denial
Hmm.
for it.
Okay.
So I believe that might have been one of the things that we did not include the specific correspondence into the permit history because we kept it strictly to just building, electrical and plumbing. But they did deny that. They did want to add it and they didn't allow them to.
I see. Okay, well, thank you for your patience while we went through all those questions.
No, thank you.
If there's no other questions for staff, then at this time, we'll ask the applicant to come forward and make his presentation. Yeah, press the button.
But no,
Good evening, CHC staff. My name is Patrick Serpicki. I'm the architect on the project. We have a pre-recorded presentation and I'll be around to answer all the questions that you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tonight, our presentation will highlight the project proposal for 618 Magnolia, prepared by architect Patrick Serpicki, Studio Build. The proposed project at Magnolia consists of a whole house transformation in addition to the existing main floor, along with a new second floor addition. The original 1923 home has seen significant modification throughout the years, and the home and the property have been neglected in regards to maintenance. The property is listed on the city's historic inventory as a contributing structure in the Magnolia Adeline area. The home experienced a major modification in 1945 when the original front porch was enclosed. The original craftsman architectural defining element of the home was enclosed to create interior space. The front door entry door was added to the east elevation and accessed with a small entry stoop. A faux stone veneer was also added to the original porch concrete foundation and again at the side entry stoop foundation. This inauthentic feature is split and cracked. We are proposing this element be removed. All of the front facade and immediate adjacent windows have been changed out with vinyl single hung windows. The applied grills are on both the top and bottom and inside the dual glazing unit. Our proposal will address these windows and replace them with appropriate window style and detailing. There is evidence of the original casement windows consisting of a prairie-style mullion pattern on the single remaining side window, as well as the original side entry door. This will be the basis for our proposal to replace the existing window openings on the front facade. A conditional use permit for commercial use of the property was granted in 1968. The property has been used as a business until the recent homeowner purchased the property. In 1986, a 5-car garage along with additional driveway curb cut were constructed. The property has 2 curb cuts and 2 driveways that occupy most of the front yard. As part of the proposal for the property, we are proposing the abandonment of the east curb cut and driveway. The newly captured front yard provides a native landscape and path from the public sidewalk to the newly covered entry porch. The size of the large existing 1,100 square foot rear garage structure and required 25-foot clearance dramatically impedes on the amount of rear yard available for both an addition and maintaining some outdoor recreation space. To achieve a home that allows the new family the desired modern living amenities of an open floor plan with views and connection to their backyard, we are proposing the 3 family bedrooms be part of a second-story addition. The homeowners are living in a condo that they have called home for the past 10 years. Their condo is in walking distance of their new property. During the pandemic, their extremely active 4-year-old son was diagnosed with autism. Their son's diagnosis requires a multitude of sensory therapy activities to help keep him focused. Many of these activities are conducted in their home. The necessary equipment for their son's activities have consumed every inch of their small 2-bedroom condo. The large property came on the market and they jumped at the opportunity to create a safe space for their son's therapy and rehabilitation with room to grow as a young family. Their son's diagnosis makes it extremely challenging for him to meet and make friends. Out-of-town friends and an extended family of cousins are an important part of giving their family the tools and support to raise their child in a healthy environment. The potential to create a home that allows a first-floor private guest suite and 3 family bedrooms upstairs allows them to protect some outdoor entertaining area and allow room for a future swimming pool to support their unique needs. The proposed design intends to recreate a new front porch feature to complement the Craftsman architectural style. The new entry porch will be set back from the original front porch location by more than 15 feet. The new porch will frame the new side entry location to the home and set up a central circulation of the interior of the home. The new porch will add a horizontal element to break up the new 2-story massing and delineate the old and new architecture. We will be retaining and refurbishing the original brick chimney. We will be abandoning the working fireplace, therefore, it will not be required to alter height in proportion to meet 2nd-story building code safety setbacks. We will retain and refurbish the front portion of the original home's roof. Roughly 50% of existing roof structure will remain. The new 2nd-floor roof structure is proposed to be rotated so the gable runs perpendicular to the original single-story gable roof. The new 2nd floor is set back roughly 25 feet from the frontmost gable roof of the existing 1st floor. Our project will continue the use of exposed raptor tail overhangs and outlookers and corbels that are prominent on the existing residence. The new 2nd floor roofline will feature large eave overhangs that highlight the horizontal design of the 2nd floor massing. The proposed additions will match the lap siding. However, we will change exposure from the original 3-inch exposure to a 5-inch exposure to clearly differentiate the new and the original residence. Materials and color palette, we have chosen a medium gray color for the siding, and off-white trim, window frame, sash, and grid patterns. For the roof, we have chosen a heavyweight asphalt shingle with maximum definition. It will be a darker charcoal color and perform as a cool roof. River Rock accent landscape garden walls will frame the front entry porch and replace the faux stone veneers. The new window and door openings in the rear of the home will be aluminum-clad windows by Sierra Pacific. We have used these windows on other successful CHC-approved projects. We will be replacing the existing front window openings with period-appropriate prairie-style simulated divided light windows. For the 2nd floor front windows, we will be introducing double-hung windows with simulated dived lights on the top sash only. The double-hung window type is fitting to the period style. However, the change of style from prairie grid casements will help delineate the new 2nd-story structure from the original home. We have worked closely with CHC member Rebecca Thompson on similar projects to develop window installation detailing using Sierra Pacific clad windows. Providing an inset window installation sets the glass significantly further behind the siding. The deeper recess creates a more obvious shadow similar to the original wood windows. architect Patrick Serpicki of Studio Build and Darren Ross of Ross Construction have collaborated on several successful CHC projects and are currently on the build of 2 other CHC-approved projects. Our focus as a design build team is to execute our work on South Pasadena historic resources with new design solutions that respect the original architecture. Unfortunately, a number of these properties have not been cared for or preserved over the years. We strive to restore these historic elements along with introducing appropriate, thoughtfully designed additions that tell a story of modern lifestyle amenities executed with timeless quality craftsmanship. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for that presentation and get ready for some questions.
Good.
I'll start with Vice Chair Lopez. Any questions for the applicant?
No, no questions.
Wow, okay. Commissioner Morris. Okay, and Commissioner Cross.
No questions.
Well, first, not a question, a compliment. It's a very handsome looking project.
Thank you.
And, I can tell that you took great care in, your design decisions to try and make this as compatible as possible. I did have just a couple specific questions. Give me a moment. On the sheet, the demolition plan sheet, I believe I saw a note on there about reuse of one of the existing exterior doors.
Yes, one of your questions previously about the condition of the windows. All the windows that are in the affected area that we're protecting are vinyl or that side elevation where I showed you, there's cabinet doors
Right.
and they're covered up. So all the windows that are that being demolished that original are in the affected area that we're rebuilding. There is one original prairie style type window that's right next to a side entry door. Originally, we were proposing a side entry to the west side.
Mhm.
And we were going to reuse that door. We got rid of that and we kind of put the entry to the backyard. So I think I just didn't take that note off because we were thinking about using it for the front door, but it's only like a 30-inch wide door. So
Mhm.
we thought we'd just
Okay.
replace it with the original one.
Okay, I didn't see it in the door schedule.
Sorry,
That's why
sorry.
it caught my eye.
Bad note. Thank you.
And then on the existing and proposed east elevation sheet, on the proposed elevation, this is the proposed east elevation. Just a comment there, there's a segment or a plane of wall that corresponds to the great room. And it's a blank wall and it's a rather long blank wall.
Oh, okay.
So we may, in the course of our discussion, be suggesting some ways to deal with that because in our design guidelines, that's one of the things it cautions against is having long blank walls.
Sure.
And I have the same comment on the proposed west elevation. This would be, I guess that's the great room as well. Right at the end of the first floor addition as you're moving towards the backyard. Again, a pretty lengthy stretch of wall there with no opening or fenestrations or articulation to break it up.
That's part of the kitchen.
Mhm. And on that same sheet, again, proposed west elevation. There is on the existing west elevation, there's a small area at the front that has that faux, almost looks like a limestone cladding on it that you're rightly going to be removing. I'm just wondering why you didn't carry the river rock around on the proposed elevation at that point?
The only, I guess, the only reason that is it's kind of discontinued because we are proposing some raised planters
Hmm.
in the front of the house, so
Mhm.
it would be kind of, but we're open to that because it could add something on that side. That is the driveway side that does not
Yeah.
have as much detail to it.
Yeah, it would seem that it would make sense to have it transition around the corner, so it's not just stopping, at the edge there. And my final question has to do, and I don't even know if this is in bounds, staff, because it has to do with the portion of the lot where the ADU is. Is it possible to replace some of that paved area on the three sides of the ADU structure with additional softscape?
I think that's a great idea. There's a lot of driveway back there and
I just want to check with staff. Can we suggest that? I know the ADU itself is not in our purview tonight, but
Sorry, Chair Gallatin, can you reiterate that, just which section?
yeah. Well, I'm looking at the landscape plan, sheet L1, and the area around the ADU structure, behind it, to the side of it, and to the front of the ADU, the portion that's not in front of the garage, is all paved. And looking at the calculations, about half the lot is hardscape. So I was wondering if there's opportunities in those areas to introduce additional landscaping,
There is
or
a
at least
poss-
pervious surfaces, if not landscape.
yes, because it's not part of the ADU proposal itself.
Mhm.
You could potentially talk to the applicant about adding additional landscape.
Mhm.
And usually the requirement is for the front setback area, but if the applicant is in agreement, then that would be permissible.
Thank you.
I think the only thing about the ADU is that you do have to show there's parking for that,
Correct.
which is not in the back. But I mean, I think overall, we didn't study the intricacies of what the backyard is going to look
Mhm.
like with our landscape
Mhm.
architect yet. But
Sure.
I think it's a great idea to soften up that area behind the pool. So I don't think that the homeowners would argue that point.
Very good. Well, that concludes my questions. If there's no other questions for the applicant, then we will open the public hearing. And staff, were there any public comments received for this item?
There was not.
I believe, didn't our packet include 2 letters from adjoining property owners in favor of the project?
Yes.
Thank you, Chair Gallatin. Yes, we did include as one of the attachment 2 letters in favor in support of this project.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have no public comments either in the chamber or on Zoom. Applicant, you get 3 minutes for a rebuttal if you wish.
The HRE report of the demolition, we were very concerned about that about 11 months ago when we started our process of trying to get on this review board. And we were told that it is changed because, again, over 3 years ago, we had a similar situation where there was an HR report done for that. We were told that staff does have the ability to, review that on their own and recommend demolition for structures of that size. So we didn't pursue that. I mean, our only worry about that now is that it could be a lengthy process. And, we've informally started our process about 11 months ago. We had our formal application submitted over 6 months ago. So, we've been on this for a while. We are very excited about the project. And like I said, there's, with homeowners and the ability to do projects like this, there is a lot of excitement and hard work and blood, sweat, and tears. And hopefully that, our history in this city is that, not only are we designing it, I work closely with a builder that does respect the quality that's, discussed in these meetings.
Mhm.
A lot of these discussions are, as long as it gets put on the paper and it's approved, But what I would love to see is how staff could go see these projects and how we execute all this stuff, because
I'd love for our commission to go
Yes.
see some of these. you
yes,
know,
because I
field.
think that I've seen a lot of CHC projects that are not built to a great construction
Sure.
and they don't execute those things. I mean, I have a current project on Linden and we work closely with Rebecca Thompson on the project about the chimney specifically. And we worked really closely with that. And then it just feels like we go through all that point, we rebuild this, we do it, to that exactly like we
Yeah.
said, because we want to,
Right.
and it just goes unnoticed.
Yeah.
So it's,
Oh, you don't need to tell me. I've done dozens of on-site inspections in my career. I was a city planner for over 30 years.
Right.
So did a lot of inspections, both at the framing stage and the final stage.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was always frustrating when you'd see a detail that wasn't executed properly and you'd bring it to the building inspector's attention and he'd say, well, it meets code, and
Sure.
so, which is the right answer from his perspective, but it really would be beneficial as a learning opportunity, I think, for staff and the commission at some point to maybe make it an annual thing to
Sure.
visit some of the completed projects to see, as you say, how the build is executed.
what was the other one? Sorry, lost my train of thought there. So another one was just the staff's recommendation to do wood windows. I think that we have done quite a few projects where, again, I've worked with Rebecca on some details of the aluminum clad that pushed them back. I mean, the reasoning for aluminum clad, in my professional opinion, is that I'd hate to be someone here in 40 years trying to get wood deteriorated windows that we're not taking care of just being reinstalled. So it is a good product. It's a great company. Some of these details that I work with her closely on, they do give it a little bit more of an authentic look as how it sits in the wall. And anymore, it just really is, it's just more of the maintenance of a wood window. And so that's our proposal to do aluminum clad on this project.
Very good. Before you leave the podium, it occurred to me that I did have one other question for you. With regards to second story additions that come before us, one of the principles that we try to uphold is that the second story additions should be subordinate to the original historic home. Can you say a little bit about how you feel this is subordinate?
I think that what we were really trying to do was frame the historic characteristics of a craftsman home. I think that this home is, quite frankly, it might be a harder process to remove something from a historic register, but I've done a couple of these projects where it is old. I respect the fact that it's old house, but when you go through and you look at these properties and there's nothing there that is really of significance. They removed probably a beautiful porch at one time. It was early in the 45, but that side entry became the front prominent door. So we've decided that we know we want to defer back and pull back this thing as far as we can. The second story just is really hard not to say that that's not an appropriate avenue to secure some square footage for the homeowner. So I think that we were just really trying to frame it with bringing back a porch, but not trying to make it look like the original porch and setting it back further. Maintaining, one of the character defining things is the brick chimney. We want to keep that. We know that there's a condition of approval that I need to talk with building official, but our goal is to solidly block that off, fill the flue with concrete, and just eliminate that, because I just think the proportions of raising it would not be something we want to pursue. And the worry about pushing the second story back any further is that we're just adding square footage to a home that's really just making it more massive, because I think everything would go with it. So I think that, it's more of really for us, as we know we're deferring to it. We have a big side yard to the east that had a trellis on there that was really not anything that was approved or defining of the structure. We really like the idea where, I know in the image where if you did visit the site, there's that little trellis that's off the front entry. And I do believe that was probably part of the original patio covered porch. So I think that'd be cool to protect that and just turn it into more of a, a garden trellis type thing. So I think that, it's hard when you say a second story addition that you are totally deferring to the structure. It's a small home. There's not a lot of redeeming qualities to what it was, but we know that there is some nice proportions to keeping the front and pushing back. We originally started with this idea of, you want to, you look at some of the standards of how to add to a second story historic, and you want to kind of mimic some of the gables, but we felt turning it was really a nice way of keeping it low, but, deferring in that sense.
And if I read your plans correctly, it appears that the new second floor sits on top of what was the footprint of the existing house. I know you're demolishing the rear portion of the existing house,
Sure.
but it doesn't look like your second floor goes beyond what was the original footprint of the existing house.
Yeah, I think that we tried to keep the footprint up there small. It just, we felt like there was a lot of square footage to the east that, even though we're going past the sight lines of the original structure, it just felt like we want to use that space so we can protect some of the backyard for, because we are up against, they have a huge structure back there. Not to say that they wanted a huge structure, it's just because it's there. And, there was one more thing when we were talking about that structure is, Susanna did bring it up. There was a letter, they never allowed those tanks and all that stuff in there. So we did look into that, because I have a project where the tanks are there and that creates quite a bit of an issue. So, sorry, I would just.
All before you dig, as they say.
Yes. So that's, I guess that's our, the way we addressed and the homeowner addressed, because they, there's a charm to South Pasadena, and it's because of you guys protecting this. And I do like being on these kind of projects. As hard as they are sometimes, but it's a great, obviously you guys know it's a great community. There's great schools, and that what was kept them here. And to be candid, they got very frustrated as homeowners about 5 months ago when we weren't getting any traction on getting to this point. That's like, why are we even doing this? We could go, to another city. So, but that's passed because we did, started working with Matt and Susanna on the project, and we've been grateful for their support and their help. That's all I have. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Sue, for your patience, and also want to welcome you to our community here in South Pasadena. Very good. Thank you. Okay, commissioners, now we can have commissioner discussion about the project, and who would like to lead off? Like Commissioner Morris.
I actually think it's a very well-designed house. I agree with you about the second story, but I think the explanation is perfectly appropriate, and it makes a lot of sense. They've made it a livable house for their family, and that makes a lot of sense to me. The walls that you brought up are probably something I would ask for a little bit of concession on, because there are some very long walls that aren't broken up at all. I know one of them is the kitchen wall, the great room wall. Feels like there's a little gimme, but the other things that River Rock, I think he carried it as much as he can. The planners would block the rest of it. I like a lot of detail in it. So the comment about the walls, I think I'd like to have addressed, but otherwise I think it's fantastic.
Vice Chair Lopez.
Well, I want to commend the architects and the owners, because it's a very complete presentation. So thank you for giving us a very good set of drawings to look at, three-dimensional drawings, color drawings. So we couldn't have asked for any more information. So you guys have everything we need. So thank you for that. I agree that the prig is absolutely beautiful. This is a tricky project in the sense that, if you're gonna judge it the way we judge every historical property with the first story and going into 2 stories. We also, of course, it's allowed, but you have to be sensible about how you go about it and everything else. And I think your explanation was exactly what I was thinking more than anything else is that I think personally, my personal opinion is that the shape that this structure is in is kind of in the gray area that it should be a historical just because the whatever elements were left over from the additions that have been done, there's not much there, really, to be honest. So under normal circumstances, I would be concerned about the power of the addition versus the existing property. But the property has already been bastardized to us to a certain degree. The porch has been disappeared. So what you have left is windows that are vinyl windows too. And so I think that what you propose it's good. It's good, and it's probably more that I would on other projects, but on this one, I think it's a fair way to tackle the project and the structure the way it is. I will echo the comments about the windows. I think I saw there's the kitchen. You can probably add a small window in the kitchen. Now the other side with the TV, I think you have a opportunity to put kind of windows, have the TV set up in one side and have it small, maybe split windows on each side or something. So I think I'm not too worried about us, and I'm not too worried about the blank wall and us. I think it's actually just gonna be a better space if you have a little more light in there. So I'm more for the inside than the outside. But those are kind of bigger pieces without windows, and you could do a little articulation, but you have done a great job with all the other articulations and everything else you've done. So thank you and good job. Thank you. And thanks for your patience. And yeah.
Hey, Commissioner Cross.
I'm fine with this project as submitted. I know that the walls look like they're very extensive in the back without windows, but that's a great distance from the street. If you walk by, you'd have to break your neck to see that. And so from the street view, I think a movie company could shoot that very well, and it would look great.
All right, thank you. Well, I echo some of the comments of my colleagues with respect to those 2 long blank walls. Understand what you're trying to achieve on the interior floor plan, and maybe you can look at as an option awning windows or something clear story windows that wouldn't interfere with your interior layout, but would still provide more light. Absent that, I would even suggest maybe taking a look at skylights. We allow skylights as long as they're not visible from the public right of way. And as Commissioner Cross pointed out, this is pretty far back from the street. My initial reaction when I first saw the project was, boy, it's going to be hard to make an argument that this is subordinate to the existing home. But the more I studied it and saw that if you didn't count that addition to the first floor, you're basically, as I said, building the second floor on top of the existing footprint of the home, which is what our design guidelines recommend that you do. So that, and then I drove the whole block of Magnolia yesterday, and I didn't do an exact count, but it appeared to me that it was probably about 50-50 between 2-story and 1-story homes in that block. So this is not a precedent setter. If anything, it's following up an established pattern in the neighborhood. So again, aside from the couple comments about the walls and so forth, I think it's a really nice project, and I would entertain a motion.
How do you feel about the windows?
Oh, okay. when you say the windows, which windows?
Are you
referring
okay
to?
with the aluminum clad windows or do you want to suggest?
Oh,
and make a
oh,
condition
yeah.
About the wood windows?
Well, staff's recommendation to us was to change that to wood. The architect made, a good point that, 40 years down the line, depending on, hopefully you folks still own it 40 years from now. And, I know you're going to take, yeah, well, I know you're going to take good care of it though. The, the aluminum clad products that are out there today, are really good. And Conrado, you know this better than I do, because you have to source those things for your projects. They really, replicate, a historic appearance, to have the profile of a wood window and things like that. So I'm okay with that. And we've certainly approved other projects here with that, unless there's a strong feeling on the commission that, no, this should be wood. Well, I was very happy when I heard that they had consulted with Becky Thompson on the detail, installation detail, because I know what a difference that makes. In one of the prior cities I worked for, we had the same issue, and we came up with a standard detail for recessing the windows so you get that shadow line, and you wouldn't have such a flat looking facade. But yeah, I would be okay with the windows as proposed.
Then I would make a motion if, okay, to approve this project as submitted. We can make all the mandatory findings. I think we can make project specific findings. Number 2, that it's appropriate to the neighborhood. Number 3, that there's a distinction between the original and the new portions of the house. And number 5, that it certainly adds livable space that the family needs for the house. I would condition that they clarify public works comment number 14 that Commissioner Cross talked about. But I will leave it up to the architect to do anything with the walls that you may find appropriate, and aluminum clad windows if that's your choice and the homeowner's preference.
And I think they already, on the drawing, it shows that they're gonna take the curb cut out, that they're not using it. I think it was mentioned on the drawing, so.
Sorry, staff would just like to confirm also modification to PW 18,
Oh, yeah.
that they specify that in front of the property.
Yeah, the parkway improvements to the parkway directly in front of this house. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
And then building is obviously going to clarify the thing about the chimney. If you can just, since the chimney is an issue, you'll just clarify that during plan check, right? About
Yeah.
what you have to do to it.
That's a building and safety.
Mhm. Okay, we have a motion with those conditions
I second.
and a second. Staff, can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Cross,
Approve.
Commissioner Morris, Vice Chair Lopez,
Yes.
and Chair Gallatin.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you again for your patience. Good luck.
All right, the next part of our agenda is discussion. And the first item under discussion tonight is 1010 Mission Street. It's a Mills Act request with a recommendation to form a subcommittee to review the Mills Act request. And presenting this report is Mackenzie Goldberg.
Can I interrupt for one moment? I have a conflict on this issue.
Oh, yes. Let the record note that Commissioner Morris is leaving the chambers. She's recusing herself from this item.
Okay. Good evening. This presentation is for 1010 Mission Street. The owners are requesting a Mills Act contract for the property located at 1010 Mission Street. The property qualifies for the Mills Act incentive program based on being a contributor to the designated South Pasadena Historic Business District, which was listed in the National Register of Historic Places in 1982. The commercial building was built in 1908 and features original masonry with decorative brick detailing storefront and double sash windows, and original signage. Some of the proposed repairs included in the letter of intent include roof and window replacement, repair of bricks, weatherproofing, and other maintenance. One more, thank you. And yeah, one more, thank you. Staff recommends that the Cultural Heritage Commission appoint a subcommittee of 2 members to review the request in further detail before the property owners prepare rehabilitation and restoration plans and maintenance program. Thank you. This concludes my presentation. Property manager and historic consultant for the project are attending over Zoom and available for questions.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Gentlemen, any questions for staff or the applicant's consultant?
Wasn't there an extensive renovation done in that property recently, maybe in the last 10 years, 5 years, when the other restaurant was there?
Well, there were tenant improvements done when the
Big
previous
steel
restaurant.
bar, steel beams done in.
Oh, you're talking about like seismic.
Oh, yeah, there-
Well, there's evidence in the photos of anchor bolts, and so there was seismic work done at some time. I don't know.
There was
Yeah.
a COA given in, I think, around 2012 it was Crossings Restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Okay, well, then the weighty decision we must make is which 2 of the 3 of us will form this subcommittee. Not all at once.
Okay, yes, I'll join that committee.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Cross.
I'll join the committee too. You owe me now.
What a team player. Thank you, Conrado. Okay. So the subcommittee for this Mills Act request will be Vice Chair Lopez and Commissioner Cross. And that concludes this item. Our next item under discussion is the Certificate of Local Government or CLG Annual Report, and Matt Chang has that.
Sorry, Chair Gallatin, for the previous item, can we do a motion?
Oh,
Since we
sorry.
need the majority of the commission.
Yeah.
To confirm that.
I will move that the Mills Act Subcommittee for this project consist of Vice Chair Lopez and Commissioner Cross.
Second that motion?
Yes, so agreed.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. There you
Thank
go.
you, Chair Gallatin.
Mhm.
So the next item before you, actually, I should bring Commissioner Branch back to the.
Yes,
chamber.
let's have her rejoin the meeting, please. Okay, let the record show that Commissioner Morris has rejoined the meeting.
Thank you, Chair Gallatin and members of the commission. The item before you is kind of start up a conversation or a preparation for our annual report for our CLG, which stands for Certified Local Government. And CLG program is a partnership among local governments, state Office of Historic Preservation, as well as the National Park Services, NPS, which is responsible for administrating National Historical Preservation Program. As part of the CLG reporting requirement, each city each year needs to submit an annual report to the State Office of Historical Preservation to ensure the local government keep track of our local preservation program and also ongoing preservation effort. So the item is more like a beginning of this preparation of a report. So staff provide the items kind of required, but in general, what staff is looking for is staff will be doing most of the legwork, filling out all the forms. However, staff do need items from the commissioners, for example, your resume, also the meetings, trainings you have attended over the past years, whether it be the training here at the city or something that you did for your profession, or for example, Preservation Foundation might have an activity program that you can count as a, so you have to kind of go back to the day that you attend those meetings, trainings, activities. I think there's some program that I might have to enlist. So let's Chair Gallatin on the preservation effort, the meetings, the training, the tours, that can be counted as a public outreach preservation effort. So it can include it as part of the report. So staff is looking probably bring this item back to next January's meeting to kind of finalize the report, so we can submit this entire report to the state in February, because the deadline is March. So we have kind of a couple months to work on it, but staff just want to start a kind of conversation, the preparation. And afterwards, staff will do email the Word document of this item and also identify the specific items staff will need from the commissioner. So in general, it's just more your contact information, your resume, the training and the type of training you attend over the year, so we can keep track, kind of complete these forms. And please let me know if you have any questions.
Well, Matt, I think in terms of my resume, since I've been retired as long as I have, I may have to submit it as a stone tablet rather than an electronic document, but I'm sure you'll manage. I was looking this packet over, and it all looks very familiar from prior years, but a new thing that I saw here that I hadn't seen previously is the forms dealing with professional qualifications for architectural history professionals, et cetera. That's for staff to fill out, correct? I mean, that refers to staff. That's not in reference to commissioners.
Actually, staff just got this over the week. I mean, this week. That's why staff didn't include this part of your packet. The staff just got this whole from the state this week. So actually, the requirement is we need to attach resume and statement of professional qualifications for all members, including staff and also commissioners. So what happens? I read the qualification a little bit. So if I have, for example, public administration, urban planning, business administration, they consider as a close related field. And of course, all the commissioner being on the commission, whether it be this one or the design review board for many years, you not only have your degree, but also your professional career or volunteers or also serve on this board, this commission or boards that can use this kind of experience as well. So it kind of satisfy the
Somewhere in these instructions, it talks about related disciplines. Because, for instance, using myself as an example, my degrees are not in history or architectural history or in architecture. They're in planning and public administration. But now that I read through the paragraph, I see related disciplines such as urban planning. So there you go.
And this is more like a checkbox for the professional qualifications. Is more a checkbox. You check and checkbox. So.
Hey, anyone else have any other questions for Matt on the CLG report?
So be a kind of ongoing effort. So after the meeting, staff will email the actual PDF or document to the commissioner, and also staff will be very specific on my email to asking the commissioner assistant to the items I need. But of course, there'll be a lot of conversation between now and January to complete the form. But my idea is to bring this back to the commission in January. So we'll have a couple months. If we need to have continuous, at least the deadline is March 31st of next year. So we'll have room if we need additional revisions.
All right, thank you.
So when staff bring this item back to the commission, of course, our staff will be sensitive of the personal information, and I think we're not required to bring everything to for public, but when we submit it to OHB, I'll include everything. But when I bring the item to this body, I can eliminate personal information. Just more this commission, this staff, and also our city hall, city of South Pasadena can continue to qualify as a CLG going forward, kind of meet the CLG requirements.
Okay, thank you, Matt. We're now at the point in the meeting for administration. And as always, we will start off with comments from our council liaison, Council Member Znaimer.
I don't have any comments. Thank you.
All right. Comments from commissioners. Anyone have anything they'd like to share? Yes, Bill.
Yes, we had a meeting on the modern house. His name is escaping me, designed by. Yeah, on the Royal.
Oh,
Starts with a G.
Galbraith.
Yeah, Galbraith.
Yeah, the,
uh,
I can't remember
Which
the
was-
original owner's name, but,
Which the restoration is just splendid on that house. And we were given a very nice tour. And there's no question in my mind that it qualifies. It was built 1959. Here we are, 2020 plus. And I guess we would need some direction on where we take this.
well, I think staff is gonna enlighten us on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Cross. So it is my understanding that the associate planner Sandra met with Vice Chair Lopez and Commissioner Cross yesterday, if I remember correctly, and visit the house and also talk to the property owner as well as the applicant's historian. So the next step is staff will bring the landmark application. We're just talking about Millsap, but the landmark application back to this commission for a recommendation, of course, and the ultimate goal is have to go to the city council. So staff is looking at probably January, a Cultural Heritage Commission to bring the landmark application for your consideration, and staff will be providing a recommendation to this commission and ask for your another recommendation to the city council. So we're looking at January Cultural Heritage Commission Day.
Yeah, I was volunteer while I was not here for that committee, which it serves me well for missing a meeting.
You'll get a chance to
Yet-
get back at us. at some
yet-
point, I'm sure.
When I actually went to the place, I said, yes, I've been dying to look inside this house for years. It was incredible. It's an incredible structure, carefully cared for, and I if that is not an example of what should be a landmark, I don't know what it could be, because it's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you.
All right, do we have any comments or reports from our subcommittees? Seeing none, I will just briefly give you a comment regarding South Pasadena Preservation Foundation. Just recently, last week, the South Pasadena Preservation Foundation, in conjunction with the LA Conservancy and Pasadena Heritage, submitted an application to the National Trust for Historic Preservation for a nomination for their America's 11 Most Endangered Places list. And the application covers the Caltrans homes within the former 710 freeway corridor in the three cities of Pasadena, South Pass, and LA. For those of you that are maybe a little newer to the city, South Pasadena had the distinction, unrivaled by any other place in America, of being on that 11 most endangered list for 5 straight years during the 1990s. The original designation, I think, was like in 93, and it was just our city. And then subsequent years, the trust expanded the designation to include El Sereno in Los Angeles and Pasadena, their segment of the corridor. So we submitted that application. It's actually called a letter of intent, and it's the first round submittal. So we'll have our fingers crossed to see if we make it to the next round, in which we can provide additional information. But fortunately for us, they extended the deadline for submittal by a week, and we were able to get it in on time. So look forward to seeing where that goes. Publicity, frankly, publicity. No, there's absolutely no monetary award attached to it. It is just an opportunity to highlight threatened historic resources and highlight them not just locally here, but nationally, because, this is the National Trust that's doing this, and this is a nationwide list that they draw from. So like I mentioned, it was very distinctive for South Pass to be recognized 5 years in a row back in the 1990s. And I gotta believe that helped with raising consciousness about the freeway fight during that period, which was ultimately successful. Okay, that's all I have. Angelica, comments from staff?
Good evening, Chair Gallatin, CHC Commissioners. I do have a few updates. I'll start with the recruitment updates in the department. We have a new senior management analyst for housing programs. Leah Demris joined us on November 24th. She has a breadth of experience in housing, affordable housing, financing of housing projects, and tenants' rights. So we are very excited to have her. She got right in and got to work. The week after she started, we had a big community meeting where she assisted with the PowerPoint, putting that together and doing some research and preparation for that meeting. So very happy to have her join us. The planning technician position is being filled. The new staff will be joining the team on November 28th. So I know that Matt and the rest of the planning division is just absolutely ecstatic that we will now have pretty much a full planning division. And I am absolutely thrilled to introduce you tonight to our Deputy Director, Allison Becker. Allison is just an expert and already has made an impact in the department. Allison is AICP. She joins us from the city of Los Angeles. She worked there for over 20 years. And during that time, she was a trusted advisor to 3 elected officials. She directed a federal collective impact initiative from the mayor's office and served as a staff planner with the Community Redevelopment Agency. Over the course of her career, she has developed expertise in the areas of land development, housing, community economic development, and historic preservation. In fact, she worked on a historic theater project in San Pedro. She has worked on urban design plans and community engagement projects, staffed a design review committee, and chaired a community advisory board overseeing planning for the redevelopment of a public housing site. Most recently, Allison created and implemented a comprehensive plan to address homelessness, which incorporated a navigation center, 4 emergency shelters, 2 safe parking sites, and 2 permanent supportive housing projects. As I mentioned, Allison is a certified city planner and holds a bachelor's degree from Clark University and a master's degree from UCLA. She lives in an old stone house with a granny flat in Highland Park with her family and a fluffy, feisty black cat. Allison enjoys an active lifestyle and she sings in a community choir and she loves to travel. With that, here's Allison.
Welcome, Allison.
Welcome.
Not really prepared to be grilled on anything this evening, but I am delighted to be here. I was presented to City Council yesterday and I revealed that as I was doing my job search, South Pasadena was really my first choice. And so, being offered a position really, it's like winning the lottery. So I'm so glad to be here. The one other thing I'll mention to this group is that in a way, my career path has come full circle because my very first position out of graduate school
was with a small preservation organization in Pasadena, which at the time was starting its first acquisition rehab program for first-time home buyers using historic resources in Northwest Pasadena. So here I am now, much better equipped with 2 decades of, professional experience to take on this sort of thing at a larger scale. So I'm really excited about the work ahead, the difficult work ahead, and we'll look forward to working with all of you on it. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison. Okay, did you
Yeah,
have more?
just another quick update. As you all know, we've been working on the housing element. We did receive a comment letter from HCD on October 28th. So we are now working on the 4th draft. There are a few areas where we need clarification from HCD, and we will be meeting with them, in fact, tomorrow morning. But honestly, well, it's disappointing to have to do another 4th draft. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. I really do feel that, many of the comments I think were fairly easy for us to address, and we'll get to that. But it's again disappointing, but I do see the light at the end of the tunnel, and so I again remain confident that we will get there real soon. I will mention also that today I participated on a California Cities League of California Cities webinar, and really it was a discussion statewide on what cities are experiencing with the housing element. And as frustrating as it's been, I guess there's a little comfort in knowing that we're not the only ones. And I say that in all sincerity, that hearing colleagues from throughout the state saying that they really feel like it's been a moving target, that they feel like they're being targeted and asked for more, and somewhat unreasonable from HCD. That actually made me feel a little bit better.
I
crazy.
can't believe it. HCD unreasonable.
Right.
Like, I believe.
But again, I do feel confident, and as I mentioned, I really do feel like I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Angelica, just a follow-up
Sure.
on that topic. I wasn't able to attend that joint meeting between the City Council and Planning Commission, but I did see the notice, and there were, I think, like 9 code amendments that I guess the ultimate action was adoption of a resolution of intent to adopt those. And I presume those 9 were part of that letter, the most recent letter that HCD said, we expect you to make these changes,
Mhm.
right?
No, actually, it wasn't.
Oh.
So some of those zoning text amendments are part of the housing element. They're ones that we know that we need to get to, and kind of the low hanging fruit. As some of you may know, part of this process, or the second part of the process once we get certified, is to do the zoning text amendments. Some of these that are included in that resolution of intention are ones that either have been passed by state law that earlier this year that we just hadn't gotten to, but ultimately were need to be done. So it's just kind of getting a head start.
Yeah, when I saw that resolution of intention, I have never seen that before in the prior housing elements I worked on, but I thought that was probably a way to, I don't want to say placate, but satisfy HCD, because some of these, as you know, zoning text amendments take multiple hearings over months, and we're under a deadline per a settlement to get this done, I think by mid-December, if I'm correct. So HCD is okay with doing a resolution of intent, and they will accept that in the interim until such time as the amendments are made.
They're not requiring the city to do the resolution of intent. This is actually something that's in our municipal code. And I don't know the history here as to why, or whether it's been done in the past or
Right.
not. But again, we are actually just getting a head start on the zoning text.
Okay, so it's more of a proactive thing rather
Absolutely.
than HCD saying, do these 9 things or else. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So if I
Actually, it was the history of it is 5 years ago, the Senate passed a couple of bills.
Mhm.
And to update, it was mandated that cities and municipalities update their housing
Mhm.
code. And then there was the Assembly Bill, I think 2509, enacted as an emergency measure, mandating the state to incorporate in their housing code on September 22
Mhm.
this year.
Mhm.
So that's why we had to do it.
Yeah.
But nothing to do with the housing element.
Right, nothing came in the comment letter regarding.
Okay,
this.
well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Sure.
Are you at liberty to address, did you ask any of your other city people? Are they having builders remedy projects? The ones that haven't had their housing elements approved, are they seeing builders remedy projects as well?
On the call, I forget, there was a beach city on the call.
Santa Monica
Santa
has
Monica
one.
has got-
Right, Santa Monica, and there's, I think Redondo Beach was the other beach city. But it was a different beach city who did not say that they had actually received any applications, but I think were alluded to hearing some rumblings in the community.
I think there was one in San Francisco and actually, they challenged the builders remedy and they won against the builders.
Oh.
So it's something that we can look into.
One of the things I found interesting from the meeting today was that, in fact, I guess there's been, amongst, out in, I guess, in different communities, whether CEQA is required. And at least in the meeting today, it was reiterated that CEQA would be required and it's not necessarily by right. So I thought that was interesting.
That is an interest. I had not
Yeah.
heard that. I heard actually the opposite.
Yeah.
So they would have to look at historic resources as part of the CEQA review, assuming such resources existed on a builder's remedy site.
Right.
I hope it doesn't mean your staff now spends all their time on builders remedy projects instead of. Hang in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing further, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:04 PM. But before I adjourn, I do want to wish staff and my fellow commissioners a very happy and safe Thanksgiving next week, and hope you enjoy that with your families and loved ones. Thank you.